I think that the Entrepreneurship Network was really well established before my role was created. What we're doing is helping to shore up those connection points and helping others to navigate that existing network.
Hello, and welcome to the G&O Summer Road Trip podcast series, brought to you by the Fund for Our Economic Future. Each week, we'll hear a story of growth and opportunity from your communities throughout Northeast Ohio. I'm your host, Madison Scagnetti. For this week's episode of G&O Summer Road Trip, I sat down with our Fund's Akron Entrepreneurship Fellow, Heather Roszczek, to discuss her role and some exciting new developments in Akron's entrepreneurship scene. Entrepreneurship has been a priority of our fund since its inception and remains a key piece of our job creation strategy today. Sustaining a healthy environment for all types of entrepreneurs is essential to a vibrant economy. Research shows that regions with more entrepreneurs, including those who operate small businesses, have less economic disparity. Heather and I started off our conversation by discussing what it is she does as our Akron Entrepreneurship Fellow.
So I'm about 1 year into my 2-year fellowship with the fund, and I'm focused on bolstering entrepreneurship within the city of Akron. And so functionally, I like to break it down into 4 buckets when I'm talking about it: connecting, promoting, funding, and convening. And so in the connecting side, I'm helping to connect entrepreneurs to the different resources that are available here in Akron. Leading up to the creation of my position, we found that there are a ton of resources here for entrepreneurs, but a lot of people were having a difficult time navigating that system. They weren't sure which organizations did what or who charged for their services. So I'm able to sit down with an entrepreneur, hear what their needs are, and then hopefully save them a whole lot of time by connecting them to the right resource. We're also helping to spread the word about all of the educational opportunities available to entrepreneurs, as well as share some success stories. On the funding side, we manage a small fund that we don't fund entrepreneurs individually, but we will fund projects or initiatives that help support the entrepreneurship ecosystem. And then we're also doing some convening work, helping to bring different people and organizations together at the table to help solve problems in the entrepreneurship sector here.
I asked Heather what changes she's seen in the entrepreneurship scene in Akron since starting her work.
As far as changes go, I think one of the first things is we're seeing more energy in the entrepreneurship sector. And honestly, when I started this position, I'm not sure I would have believed that was possible because there was already so much buzz in the sector, but we're seeing even more. And I think it's due to a lot of different things. For one, we and Burton D. Morgan partnered with the Devil's Strip to create the Akropreneurs Project, which is a monthly podcast as well as a monthly video series that highlights some of the success stories that we have here in Akron.
To access the full collection of Akropreneurs podcasts and videos, visit medium.com/Akron-is-for-entrepreneurs.
And hopefully those episodes are helping to inspire some other entrepreneurs that are listening to that and saying, hey, I could do that. And I think also people are really taking a cue from our leadership. We have, 2 fairly new administrations, both County Executive Shapiro and Mayor Horgan have made it very clear that supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs is really important to their administration. And I think people are really getting energized and excited by that. I think the other change that we're seeing is some projects that have been being discussed for a long time are starting to come to light. A commercial kitchen in Akron is one of the first things that I started talking about when I came into this position. It's a need that the community has voiced for a long time. Thanks in part to some of the funding through the Akron is for Entrepreneurs project. The Summit Food Coalition is in the final stages of a project that they call the Summit Kitchen Connect. They have put together a directory of rentable kitchen spaces throughout Summit County. So these are, kitchens that are in a school or a church that may be sitting empty on the evenings or weekends. And now they're helping to connect food entrepreneurs to those kitchens. So entrepreneurs that need a licensed kitchen in order to produce their product, they can reach out to the Summit Food Coalition and find a kitchen to do that in. And Summit Food Coalition has also put together a toolkit both for entrepreneurs and kitchen owners to help make that relationship a beneficial one. We're still not quite at that end goal of a large facility, which I hope to see. If I had my crystal ball, I think that we'll probably see that in the next year or two, but it's a really solid step in that path. And finally, I think that we're also starting to see greater attention being paid to the intersection of arts and entrepreneurship. I think that artists didn't always used to be viewed as entrepreneurs, but they absolutely are. Whether they're a visual artist or a music artist or an actor, these artists are starting and maintaining businesses. And we're seeing much greater support of that. Summit Art Space is launching, or I believe the second time, the Artist as an Entrepreneur Institute. That's happening now in June as well as July. And also, as people are talking about incubators in Akron, an incubator, it used to be thought of as just a place for tech entrepreneurs. And now when I'm hearing people talk about them, I'm hearing them voice it as how can we bring these two sectors, both arts and entrepreneurship, together to spark creativity. And that's really exciting.
The work Heather's doing in Akron is also helping other cities.
There are other cities, Youngstown, for example, who are watching this project really closely and with interest and are already starting to adopt some learnings from this project. And then also myself and some other fund members have had the opportunity to discuss this project at conferences in Virginia and California. And in both of those, it was received with a lot of interest. So I think there's definitely learnings to be taken from this and placed in other cities.
Heather shared an exciting new project she's working on.
We have a really interesting project that's taking place this fall with the International Institute of Akron. So hopefully, as many of the listeners know, we have a really robust international community here in Akron. And that population is incredibly entrepreneurial by nature. The problem that we were finding, though, is that a lot of the resources that are available for entrepreneurs are out of reach for our refugee and immigrant population. And that can be due to language barriers or transportation barriers, or a lot of the time it's simply cultural barriers. And so we funded a project with the International Institute to hold a series of conversation circles in homes in North Hill. North Hill is where many of our refugees and immigrants live. And so they will meet with someone who lives there who's interested in starting a business. That individual, the host of the conversation, can invite friends and neighbors who are also interested. And then a representative from the International Institute, someone who is from one of the resource organizations that assist entrepreneurs, as well as a translator, if necessary, will go into that host family's home, sit down, have tea, and have a very casual conversation about what it's like to start a business here in America and what the different resources are. There will be a series of 3 of those so that everyone involved can really build up a relationship over time. I think it's a really exciting way to approach this. It's something that we haven't tried here before. It's something that will take care of those gaps, the transportation gap, the language gap, and it's something that's much more culturally comfortable. So I'm really excited to see where that project goes.
Heather had one favor to ask of you listeners.
Yeah, I would just ask that everyone listening, please help us get the word out about this project, that there are resources to help you start a small business. We are on Facebook as Akron Entrepreneurs and on Twitter as AK Entrepreneurs. And of course, you can find us on the web at www.akronisforentrepreneurs.org.
I stumped Heather with one last question. What was your best summer road trip?
This is probably one of the hardest questions of the podcast. I love travel. Probably the most memorable was the coast-to-coast bike trip that I took. So in 2003, my parents and I rode our bikes, just the three of us. It was a self-supported tour from Delaware to Oregon. So it was just not quite 4,000 miles over the course of a summer. And it was an incredible opportunity. It's one that I would love to repeat with my own kids someday.
Thank you to Heather for sitting down with me to talk about entrepreneurship in Akron. Also, thank you to all that are listening, and stay tuned to see where our summer road trip takes us next week.